Welcome to Of Seed and Soil, a podcast that captures the unincorporated voices of food, farms, and freedom from the U.S. Virgin Islands that we hope will span across the Caribbean and begin to capture the stories of farmers, fishers, healers, and just the everyday lives of people and as how it relates to food. On this episode, I have the privilege of having with me again a new guest, Tamara McMillan, and guess who's been on the podcast before, Tarik McMillan. And did I say I'm Sommer Sibilly Brown, your host? Well, I'm Sommer Sibilly Brown, your host, if this is your first time watching us. And I am here with the co-founders of Greater Changes LLC, and we're about to jump into a conversation about wellness and farming. Hi, Tarik. Hi, Tamara.
Hi.
That almost sounds like rehearsed. Do you guys have a chance to do that often, like the double highs?
I think it'll happen with a side together too.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Like as a like this is interesting. Like as a coupling, like
Those.
Yeah.
those. Okay. Well, Tarik, you are no stranger to Of Seed and Soil, so welcome back.
Thanks.
And Tamara, you will not have seen the episode yet because it's not launched, but we talked about you, so I don't think you're a stranger to Of Seed and Soil either.
Welcome back, Tamara.
Welcome back, Tamara. Does that feel strange being like we talked about you?
No. If Tarik was in the room, I know my name was there. So
Is that a good thing or a bad
That's a
thing?
beautiful
it's
thing.
a wonderful thing.
Oh my
It's
God.
a wonderful thing.
So this is also in a previous episode we had a husband and wife, and she had taken so much pride. This is the episode with Lindsay and Randall, and ironically we ended up talking about land, which is what Tarik and I talked about. But she was so proud to carry the moniker of like Randall's wife, and the two are being like, oh no, it's a good thing. I like it when it happens. Is also adorable.
Adorable is a word, yeah. Yeah, it is. No, Tarik definitely introduces me way better than I do myself. I remember one time he called me a breath of Caribbean fresh air. Loved it.
I said it.
You said that?
Yes.
He's like, I am. Look, he was so impressed with himself. He was like, B, you got game. We can see how he got you.
I'm Tamara. I'm Tarik's wife. I am co-founder of Greater Changes. I'm a counselor. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I am a Christian woman. I am Fred and Doris' daughter. That's me.
So just because you named yourself as all of these things, the moniker that stuck out to me was as a Christian woman. And I want to come back to that. So like, think about when you say I am a Christian woman, what it means. And Tarik, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself because today somebody new might be joining the episode, even though you're a repeat visitor.
Yes. I am a co-owner of Greater Changes. I am Tamara's husband. It's Fila Amara, child, Stanley Jacobs, grandson, and Biko Mama brother, and a therapist. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer now.
Oh, I'm a farmer now.
Yeah.
So I'm happy because in the other episode we have together, you're like, I'm a farmer.
Yes.
And like you like I thought about it. I'm a farmer.
Well, Tamara's here now, so I feel more comfortable saying I'm a farmer because she'd have given me that the courage. I'm a farmer.
You're so cute.
Through all things, Tamara.
Okay, enough for the cuteness. Enough for the cuteness. I am extremely happy for you. This is good. And like, so one of the reasons I wanted to have you both here is because I wanted to talk about one, your work at Greater Changes and its intersection or the intersection of mental health and wellness with the farming community, right? I want you to kind of unravel for people how we got here, right? And just your overall understanding of what are some of the challenges, right? Because you came in as a third party, right? You're not in the farming community, but really building a relationship with it. But first, we gotta get back to Christian woman. What does, like when you say Christian woman?
I mean, Ibania, right? Like first. But I feel like my existence is the culmination of like so many people's, I guess, dreams. My grandparents wanted, I don't know if it's a better life, but a specific kind of life. My father wanted independence and freedom and to forge his own path. And then everybody went through their journeys, and I'm here, and I'm like the first one to be born here, of my mother and father together. So.
Wow. Can I ask where is your family from?
Yeah, my mom's family is from Vegas. My dad's family is from Trinidad, and then it goes beyond to everywhere. My great grandparents are from India, but Trini and Puerto Rican McMillan.
Trini and Puerto Rican. We didn't talk about this before, but
Same exact thing.
as in, where's your family from?
My grandfather and his family is from Vegas, and then my father family is from Trinidad and Tobago.
Really, the same exact thing. And so I also want to highlight, because hopefully we have listeners who are listening from all over, right? So when we say Crucian, that's what we'd call a person, or the people of St. Croix, right? We'd call them Crucians. So that when she says, I am a Crucian woman, I was just trying to get to the texture of that. Ironically, I feel like I am a Crucian woman. And I love the fact that you're shaking your head, because there are those that would differ, because I was born on the island of St. Thomas, which technically is a St. Thomian by birth. But knowing myself, I came here when I was 2, right? So all I know how to be, right, is a Crucian woman who have St. Thomian heritage, lineage, and definitely love for St. Thomas. But I don't identify with being a St. Thomian. I identify with being a Crucian woman. So that's why I kind of like wanted to like, what's a Crucian? Just for those who might be joining us who have never been to the Virgin Islands or don't even know where St. Croix is, much less what a Crucian is. And a Crucian woman is what it is, Tarik, a Caribbean one?
A breath of, no, that's a Marseille.
A breath of Caribbean fresh air.
Well, we don't know if all of them is that, but we would hope. We would hope. But okay, into Greater Changes. What is Greater Changes?
Well, I guess Greater Changes started as Tarik's baby, right? Like his vision for the Virgin Islands and health. And you could talk about that.
I'll let you go.
Oh. Greater Changes is a liberation-focused behavioral health and wellness agency. I think when we talk about agency in mental health, it's a lot of like the organization, right? Like the structure. It's a business that provides specialized services on behalf of somebody, right? But like agency for Greater Changes is more than that, right? It's like autonomy, it's liberation, it's freedom. And Greater Changes is a movement, a vessel towards that.
So, Tarik, what makes Greater Changes unique, if at all? Do you think Greater Changes is unique, and what makes it unique?
I think so. I think the thing that makes us really unique is, well, there's a lot really, but the things that come to mind, there's a huge focus in being able to understand what the core issues are. Even when we don't have like a full grasp of it just yet, like there's so much work that goes into learning like what are the actual core issues to address, not just getting caught up in following the symptoms of it. I think that's kind of what makes us really unique. One of the things that we have now, we could call it like a blessing to have gone through, is being forced to grow really slowly. Because as the company was developing, like we just didn't have a whole bunch of resources. I tell a story all the time, like when we started, and I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if it was just me at this point, but we're making like $35 a week. Like that was it. I had one session a week on Saturdays, and then that was it. And to look at where we are now, like we've had to do so much with like very little resources that like it puts us in this place where I don't know, like we have to do so much of we get the small thing right first. Like we do so much work in getting it right on a small scale because we can't afford to just like try all these different things and then not and just get them wrong or just try all these small things. We have to like plan and think through what's the most feasible way to do this thing and then go and do it that way. I think that makes us like really unique.
Well, there was something I was specifically hoping to tease out of you, but I will also go ahead and say, in my understanding or my experience of Greater Changes, and I've had the benefit of also seeing you all pitch your company, right? Um, the culturally relevant therapy piece.
Oh my God. How we just leave that alone?
I don't know, but I said okay. I mean, I'll be a champion of it. Like,
you know, one of the things that makes us really unique is this focus on cultural intentionality.
Well, yeah, and it's yeah.
And I guess, and in some scale, like I did say this, like there's so much focus. I'll dig into it. There's so much focus in understanding what the core issues are, and when you get into what the core issues are, it is culture. Like there's a way that we view mental health culturally that we've done a lot of work around understanding that. So when we do programming, when we work with clients, even when we talk about mental health in general, like all that is based on the learnings that we have on the culture related to mental health.
So I feel like there's two things that I feel when I hear Greater Changes. This is my personal feeling, right? That it culturally relevant to me means that I can go into my therapist's office and talk Crucian and, use common language and therapy and actually be 100% myself. Like there's, I've been to other therapists, right? And they were all good. But in order to communicate with them, I had to code switch, right? I had to code switch and put my issues and my understanding in a lens that I felt they understood. So I'm going into therapy, bridging something already, right? With the weight of bridging something versus talking to someone who represents me, who has lived a life similar to me. So that's just one less filter I have to work through because in therapy, I'm already carrying like, oh my God, I got to tell this person all my business, or this is really bothering me. And it could be nerve wracking. So like culturally relevant therapy to me felt like, oh, one less filter. I could go in and as a Crucian woman talk to a Crucian woman and like she may have just a little bit more understanding of what I'm sharing because in some contexts we have walked in the same places, we have been in the same circles and maybe even seen or experienced similar things. So she's not gonna think I'm crazy, right? She's gonna be like, oh yeah, that's not a good thing, but I get it. I've seen it as a behavior pattern in our community, or I've even lived it as a behavior pattern. Yeah, that's something we Crucians that do, or Virgin Islands that do, or Caribbean people. So like to me, that's what I think of when I'm like, this is why Greater Changes kind of warms my heart because it's like a safe space for me to be all of me. And I just think it's just a little bit more work when the person is not from our community. I could also see it being a challenge because we are a small community. So do you guys, that's a barrier?
Well, I mean, I think we've grown and now we know where all our clinicians aren't from here. They weren't born here, they weren't raised here, but they understand the concept of like cultural humility and putting their lens to the side, and looking at life through their clients' lenses. So it's been a little bit of shift that way. Before it was like all of these VI clinicians providing services, and now we have clinicians from New York and clinicians in Atlanta. They are aligned in that way where they're able to be like, no, like this thing that I'm thinking of, that I'm interpreting, it's through my lens and I need to like switch it over to the clients. And instead of it being the burden being put on our clients to do that work, that's our work to do,
There's Like when we started, I don't think we started saying cultural intentionality. I think we had started with like how everyone else was saying cultural competence and relevance and everything. And the more that we did this work, that's when the language shifted to intentionality, because we could be from, like, so Tamara and I both born in St. Croix, grew up in St. Croix, but we've had completely different lived experiences. Even to show like the proximity, like, so Tamara's mom and her father own a store in Frederickstead, in like the Frederickstead Mall.
Yep.
And she has been there all her life. Like Tamara would be there and they'd be in the store. Around the corner, I would be in Yucca, right, with my father. When we, like a few years ago, asking Tamara, like, have you ever been to like the Firebun events?
Yep.
And Tamara's like, I don't know what you mean, right? But we're like across, like we're like around the corner from each other. So the more that we realize that like you could be from St. Croix and your client from St. Croix, and you have no idea of what that lived experience is. We've had clients who live in Frederickstead who have a completely different idea of police brutality than somebody who lives in Christiansted, right? And maybe somebody in Christiansted also experienced the same thing, but that's the example that we've seen. Like when you ask somebody, and this is I'm referencing a specific conversation where somebody on Facebook commented that it was during like 2020. I don't know why we doing this Black Lives Matter thing. We don't have a police brutality issue. And the person like shared that post and like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've always known police brutality growing up in Frederickstead.
Wow.
Right. So like, it's like there's this completely different shift. And if we don't take those things into consideration, you end up saying, well, I'm a Virgin Islands clinician. I could definitely work with you because you're from the Virgin Islands or you're from St. Croix. And that's definitely not the case.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I think I would have thought that was the case. Like, right, that was my interpretation, that everybody from my home should be better suited to serve me. And so I am going to let your two terms, right? Tamara said cultural humility, right? And that work being on the clinician, and cultural intentionality, right? Being the way in which you work. So yeah, that's helpful. And when you brought up police brutality, my eye was like, that'll happen, right? So I'm one of those people who feel like, because of my experience, right, I would have been like, that's not a thing in the Virgin Islands. And so it's just a reminder to like be open. And it's going to be a weird segue, right? Because we're going to go from police brutality to farming, but not because I think farming is, well, fue brutal. It could be brutal, right? When you have to go through a lot of things. But what I want to say is, what the leap I was trying to make is that maybe a lot of people don't know that much about what the farming community goes through. In the same way that there is a lens where that person in Frederickstead and that person who did not live there or just didn't have the same experience, right? I think a lot of Virgin Islanders don't have the same experience as the farming community. And I think a lot of farmers, it's not a homogeneous experience. So how did Greater Changes even get involved with the farming community in the first place? And how would you describe the role that you took on?
Yeah, I'll let Tamara definitely jump into that.
It was his connection. It was a connection for him that sparked the conversation of providing mental health, like consultation work with the farming community. We were pulled into a project, Sage VI, to provide resources for farmers, ranchers. Am I missing someone? Farmers and ranchers to address stressors and mental health. Blanking.
No, I think that's like it in a nutshell. We were brought in to help understand where are the areas, like what are all the stressors that what Tamara said, and what are the resources that won't be a bandage. It'll actually like get to the core of it. Unfortunately, we'll get into what happened to the program later, but it was, I think, our first real introduction into agriculture from this side of it. Like, what is the farmer's experience? Because we did like surveys, and I remember going to the market on Saturday and like having conversations with farmers, which was really cool because a lot of the farmers, like I grew up going to the market with my father every Saturday as a child. So going to people in the market, it wasn't like I was speaking with this random person. It was like, oh, little Philae, come. Oh, what's that?
Little Philae.
You know, so like they have all this reference point of me being like this small child, like asking my father to get tamarind balls, and now here I am with like a survey telling you about what we're doing here. So it was that's how we jumped into it.
So let's jump into that. High level themes, right? First of all, how long was this opportunity to serve the farming community or get to know them? And then like, what were the high level themes that if you were to pop them off your head, like that you learned?
Was it a year?
It was roughly a year.
Yeah, about a year. One of the things that stands out a whole lot, every farmer that we spoke to described something that was like extremely sad in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. And like how impactful it was to their entire livelihood. Like there were farmers, so this was 2023 or 24, I guess in 23 and 24. And there were farmers who the impact was still felt so like significantly in their life because either they hadn't recovered because their water storage was completely destroyed, and there's no way to actually like have a farm if you can't access water, right? There were people who, so outside of how catastrophic it was on like the infrastructure level, the fear of jumping back into this thing where this might happen again next year.
So two things. We did VI Good Food. So, you know, I'm here as the host of Seed and Soil, which is sponsored by like Wild Seeds, because we run an organization called Virgin Islands Good Food, which I have the privilege of being the executive director of. And post Maria, we worked with Iowa State University, and we did, I believe, 93 interviews, right? And the word sad, I can say that as we sat with individual farmers one-on-one, immediately post-storm, there were lots of times that I cried. Not in front of the farmer, but like you leave and you feel the weight of this person's burden, and what felt like the invisibility of the disaster recovery process, because there's not a lot of space for farmers in it. And yeah, so I like what you're saying about one theme being like the deep impact of hurricanes and hurricane seasons on farmers. And you can imagine like that's like, people that talk about post-traumatic stress. Is active traumatic stress a thing? Because I feel like
a chronic stressor like this is just, it kept on going.
It keeps on going, right? And I feel like it keeps on going for the Virgin Islands or Caribbean community, right? Hurricane season is a thing where anxiety is raised. But yeah, that theme of what it means to farmers, I think people don't realize that post those disasters, suicide rates in farmers went up.
And that was one of the motivations of like the actual program. And when you look at, I think that the statistic was that farmers do have like the highest rates of deaths by suicide. I can't remember like amongst what group, but in that profession, it's like really high. When you consider the isolation, when you consider that like a bad day, if you have a bad day at work for, I don't know, insert agency or job here that you don't run, like your bad day ends maybe at 5 o'clock and you go back home. But like a bad day on a farm where like nothing was done, you couldn't get water, this has been a huge issue for the last week, and this is someone's livelihood. Like the entire day is just messed up. And you consider that the average age of these farmers, I think it was like 61 or 62 or something like that. And it's like first of all, the wear and tear on a body after farming for this amount of time, you mix that with poor health infrastructure in the territory, you mix that with high cost of living, the concern of a next hurricane season, not being able to access your resources, and you have this person that's primed for this life of just survival. And I think that was one of the things that stood out so much, like how hard it was and how hard it is, their description of like life as a farmer. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't that there was no enjoyable anything like that. It was they love it, and I think that's what made it so hard. Like, I love farming, but it's so hard for all of these other reasons.
So, Tamara, my question: any themes that stood out to you?
The need for, or the desire for, like, community and to be seen, for people to understand, like, where their role is in the food system. Tarik could tell a story about, was that a focus group that we went to, where there was a child, I don't remember the setting, where they couldn't make the connection between the chicken that's purchased in a store and the chicken that's outside.
Oh, wow. Yep.
And not recognizing, like, the role the farmer plays in that, and support, like just having a community support.
So, like, that's the reason this podcast exists, right? Truly, because in my work, and I've been doing this for 12 years, I felt like we have invisibilized the farmer, right? Even for those of us who know, not only invisibilize them, but we minimize them as people. And a lot of conversations, when we go to public forums, we hear our local leaders address them or address community and be like, farming is a business and I need to be business people and I need to get out there and did it, and there's this connotation as if the farmer is not doing enough. And that'll be in my head, like, you think a person will wake up 5 o'clock every morning before, because a lot of our farmers have jobs, but you think a person will wake up 5 o'clock every morning, go out in the field, plant, do whatever they got to do, go to their next job, come home, do that again, and then on Saturday and Sunday go to market or be in the field all day because they are not a serious business person, right? So I feel like it's shifting, but in the past, there was a lot of, like, that type of energy towards our farming community that I was like, no, man, like, do we know that these people have degrees? Do we know that these people are, whether by apprenticeship or formal training, are like some of the most innovative, smartest people that I've met? Like, these are like scientists and engineers, like, they're building structures. Do we know? And so one of the things that we wanted to make visible is this, but, like, also, I don't know if this is our appropriate question, but I'm going to ask it and you could tell me if it doesn't work like this. How would you rate the wellness of our farming community, like, on average?
I think I would rate it exactly where I would rate, like, the overall wellness of the Virgin community. It's not very good. I think there's a huge lack of resources that would make life a lot more enjoyable. I want enjoyable, is more bearable to get to that place where it's more enjoyable. One of the things that we had planned to do was have trainings for farmers to be able to mental health first aid trainings for farmers to be able to identify what these warning signs of stressors or like mental health disorders that, if caught early, would, like, you'd be able to deal with it before, like, it became a much larger issue. Like I said before, like, we began this journey thinking that therapy was, like, the goal of it. Like, we need to get as many people into therapy as possible because that's what everyone needs. And we still feel like it's really important, but there is and Tamara, jump in whenever you want. there is a lot of power in building community
Mm.
and having a space where people feel safe to have those conversations.
So we have partners in the States, Saffron specifically, and they also partner with Island Food Security. And many people may not realize that Island Food Security is also a subset or a part or a parallel part of Seja Farm. Um, and so Saffron, when they came down, and when I go up to visit, one of the things that they talk about, right, is like, where is the community that supports agriculture? So when we see they work to bring farmers together so farmers can be in relationship, right? And these are self-organized groups. They're not forced relationships, right? But they spent a whole, I believe, year just prototyping, like, if we gave this group of farmers $20,000 and they could do anything with it, how would they build community, right? And across many of the different places, and hopefully Elsie and Whitney J could tell their own story, people did different things. There were drum circles, there were potlucks, there were all these different things that were happening. But the goal was to foster community. Um, I don't even know if they thought they was combating isolation, but just as they see it as part, they would call it Afroecology, as part of Black agrarians, right? As part of the culture of, in the South, for them, being Black Southern Americans, that togetherness was important. And so when they come here, we often talk about, like, who is holding the fiber of community for farmers, because we hear a lot of conversations about the production needs. We hear a lot of conversation about USDA. We hear a lot of conversation, agriculture needs to do this differently, right? But who's holding farmers? Um, that is something that VI Good Food is endeavoring to do gently. Because one, you gotta know if people want to be held, but like it is a new behavior. Like when I go to Vieques, when I go to Puerto Rico, like I experience the collective so much differently, right? Like the farmer to farmer human, and we have some strong farmer to farmer relationships.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about, like, not just your circle of 5 farmers who
At
don't work
scale.
together, because yes, that is a subset of community. Like you got 20 people, you got farmer to farmer brigading. They have like mutual aid networks and resource sharing, and these aren't, some of them are formal practices, but others is just like skill building and sharing. And so we've been doing research to figure out, what could that look like in the Virgin Islands? What could that look like across island? So your point about community, this is my long-winded way of saying, is well taken, right? Like there's a definite need to cultivate community, and that doesn't mean that none exist, but we need more of it. So we're talking about the project in past tense. Um, and I just think it's important to understand where it is and maybe why, because, and I'm going to say this, a lot of times things happen and they don't happen here, but they impact here. But on the farmer level, all they know is that the local agency of VI Good Food started something and didn't finish. So
Yeah. You want to jump into that one?
I mean, I guess the long and short is, given current climate, funding changed.
Yeah, it was taken away.
Yeah.
Um,
The resource to be able to continue providing the programming went away, and I guess we're all still trying to figure out how we continue doing that work.
Yeah, and that was one of the hardest things, because there was so much work in building trust to start with, because a major theme was just distrust of government.
And I'll say, like, that's where Fila come into play, because his face was there. It was like, oh, okay, I won't give you a chance because it's you. But if it wasn't you, I don't know if I would really, there was some familiarity there, and then like work for like the rest of us to be somewhat accepted, and then for funding to go away and put us in this place where it's like, yeah, we said we were going to do something and we didn't. and the feeling like the weight of our responsibility. It feels like
it did.
our responsibility to continue it, but
So I feel as a person who very recently learned that funding I had to continue something and to do the good work, and you've been out into community and you're doing all the work to press release it and publicize it and go and build trust with farmers around a program, and then have federal funding removed from you, right? I understand it's like, oh, I actually have to go say something about this to community. And two, all the trust I built, right? Just your trust meter went down, because at the end of the day,
It was a thing that you just didn't get done.
it was a thing that you just didn't get done. And people whose livelihood depend on it, and they ain't send for you. They ain't send for you. You come. That's the other thing, right? Like our community, I don't know if this is farmers all over, but like, who sent call you, right? So you came, you offered help, you convinced me I could trust your help, and then you still didn't help.
and it reaffirms that distrust, right? Like it is real world evidence of why
Yep.
I shouldn't trust
That's why I didn't
people.
want this in the beginning. Like, you should never waste my time doing this. And it feels terrible, because like we want to do the work. It's just we wouldn't be able to sustain it.
So how do we, as people who aren't primarily farmers, who obviously now feel some level of investment and care for the farming community, like what can we do and I know this is just like thought partnership right now. What do you think we can do to continue to show up for the farming community and be like, hey, we're here? And would that even be sufficient?
I don't know if there's a thing that is done to rebuild or maintain what was like taken away. But I do think that there is making sure that you go to the market and get stuff to eat. Making sure that when a post is shared by a farmer who does use social media, that you share that post as I guess as often as you can, or whenever you do see it. I think like small things like that. Yeah.
That builds an awareness piece. That's something that the being seen, right? Like I think that we could help farmers be seen by sharing posts, by sharing pictures of things that we bought from, to encourage other people to also purchase, because it's livelihood,
So I think that's super important, and I just shifted my seat, because a lot of the times the answers seem so big or so far and are so complex, because this is a complex issue. For as long as I know myself, the Virgin Islands imported 98% of its food. For as long as I know myself, the grocery store, and I don't have anything against grocery stores, but it's the primary mechanism in which Virgin Islanders buy food, and many grocery stores support farmers, right? So, but like the role of the farmers market, the role of the direct to consumer market, right? Sometimes our impact in going and spending our money directly with the farmer is also overlooked. And when you purchase directly from the farmer, they get 100% of that into their business. So that's like one way. I agree. It's a small solution, right? But cumulatively, over time, that small solution could help, maybe not make a farmer a millionaire, but like totally keep their business going. How do you think it would increase their wellness though?
So what comes to mind is when it's direct to consumer, there's a relationship that's built. Like even when you have some of the conversation, like I've gone to the farmers market, and when I planned to just kind of be there for 20 minutes, like I spent a half hour talking to someone just because like
Tamara laughing.
like whatever happened that week or that morning is just so interesting, and we're just talking about it. There's one person in particular. I could, every time I've gone to the market, like we have a conversation, and it's not that it's always like this heavy or insightful conversation, but it's just like I don't know, like you're speaking with a person, and even like yeah, this person is a farmer, but like you're speaking with a person. I think that part's really important.
So, as we round this conversation, right, I'm going to ask each of you one specific question. What has this experience changed in you, Tamara, in terms of we had a contract to understand some of the core barriers that impact farmers. And now that I've done this work, I am.
In one word, changed, right? Like, I have a different perspective because for me, farming was like more of at home, backyard, grow some things that you like, you know. Transformed perspective wise on my role in the food system, what the food system means for wellness on a whole. And I think on a personal level, outside of the perspective, like the world perspective, I think it's deepened our relationship. Because at his core, like he's a farmer, you know. He'd grow things, he'd cultivate things. Greater Changes is a part of that, right? And I think it deepened my relationship with him to understand a little bit more about him.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
I thought so too, Tarik. Your answer?
Mine is not as beautiful.
You're not a Caribbean breath of fresh air.
No, not in this one. Not in this breath. I think that the thing that happened after like the funding was pulled, and I think that's one of the biggest things that stands out. It reinforced my scarcity mindset, and this need to, whenever there's a plan to develop a thing, make sure that there is a revenue generating aspect of it that can be poured back into the system, the program, the pilot, whatever it is. In the event that the initial funding goes away, there's something that gives us a little more time to like figure out our next move rather than it just shut down. I know I said scarcity. It sounds. I hate to use the word resilient. I don't like the word resilient because I think it'll get overused so much and it just becomes like this. But you're resilient. Keep going. But it does make me think deeper into how we maintain whatever it is that we build, especially in this time where funding is all up in the air.
So I think if I could wrap it up, right? Like in the journey towards liberation, in the vehicle which we drive, food systems, and the vehicle which you drive, wellness, there is both this need and desire to think of the redundancies that have to happen in one, the way humans show up in relationship to build community, and two, in the way we resource the revolution that is getting us to liberation. I want to thank you both for spending this time with me. I want you to know you won't be strangers to this podcast, because if I can, I will invite you again, because I just think there's so much to this wellness piece that, you know, we will begin to uncover more. So just thank you very much. And if you have, for the first time, joined the podcast of Seed and Soil, I want you to like, subscribe, comment, tell me something, and also share. And to Tarik and Tamara's point, I hope this, short time has changed or transformed you in some way where you might feel motivated to go out to a farm stand, to support a local farmer directly. And when you get there, let your 10-minute conversation take up 30 minutes, because that relationship can go a long way in promoting wellness.